So tonight I wanted to do a video on the Runcam HD used as a dash cam for your vehicle, your car. Allows you to obviously record what's going on the highway when you're driving around, and if you have an accident, you'll be able to potentially show what the real truth was behind the accident. The Runcam HD comes perforated, and I enlarged the holes for cooling. I'm going to get into that at the end of the video about why I did that and some purposes that take a little more extra time to do. But cooling of the camera, I think, is important because it may sit in your car for 2-3 years doing its little thing every time you crank the car, and it gets rather hot. So cooling the camera, I think, is kind of important. The majority of this video, though, will be on turning on the Wi-Fi and setting up the settings for the Runcam to do the dash cam functionality through the application. So we'll start by, I'm going to power this up. This is a USB to a 5-volt source, and upon powering it up, the way it's configured right now in the dash cam configuration, the lights will come on and it will start to flash showing that it's recording. So that's called auto record, and it's a setting that I'm going to show you how to turn on. The other setting that's really important is auto shutdown, which means that when the power is removed from the camera, it will also turn itself off. Both of those are delayed by, I believe it's a minute, but I'll show you those in the settings in the application. Let's start by powering it up by showing the colors that it starts flashing, and then this should start to, that little beep means it's starting to record, and the blue light flashing confirms that it is actually recording. So if it was in the car right now and then turn the key on, this thing would start recording. I could pull this off, and if I did that, it would continue to record for 1 more minute and then turn itself off. So those are the basic settings that you need to set this up to do a dash cam configuration. There's also loop recording, which I'll show you how to turn that on, so that when it runs out of space on the disk, it just starts re-recording over itself from the beginning. So to get into the settings for the Runcam's application on your phone or your iPad or whatever you're using, you have to turn on the Wi-Fi, which is this button right here. You press it, and it should start flashing blue, which is not because I was recording. I think if I press it again, that's interesting. I'm not sure what it did there. I know this, though. To get the Wi-Fi to start working, I have to stop the recording. Then I can press the Wi-Fi. And the blue light now shows that it's discoverable. So I can go to my phone now, and I can choose Runcam, and it shows it connected. But I also have to go to the application for Runcam and connect the camera there. And when I do that, it'll turn green. And once it turns green, I've got a camera connected. You can see it's a little bit of delay there, but it's rather impressive that you can have a Wi-Fi connected camera for, what is it, $85, and as long as you power both of those, this could run continually, and you could easily use it as a security camera in your house or other applications. But again, this video is primarily to show you that it can be used as a dash cam. And to do that, you're going to want to set up the camera using this application. You go into settings, and once in settings, you want to turn on, you can turn on the date and timestamp. I've got that set up so that when you look at the actual videos will be displayed as a number, and it's a long number, but it's basically the date and the time, and that way you know when it was taken. The second thing is auto shutdown. very important. You set that for the minimum. I like it to be 1 minute. So when I come into the house or stop the car, as soon as I turn the ignition off, 1 minute later, the camera quits recording. Scrolling down a little farther, you'll see the auto record connection or setting is right here, and that definitely has to be on. And that's so that when you turn power on to the camera, it starts recording. The last part of this that's important is the loop recording, and you want to make sure that that is set to whatever you want it to be. I think 5 minutes. I wish it was 15 or 20 minutes so I could break up the videos into larger segments, but the minimum is 5 minutes. Or I should say the maximum amount of time you can make each video segment is 5 minutes. But make sure your loop recording's on. That way when it runs out of space on the disc, which it will probably do that, depending on how you have the settings, you know, within a couple hours of recording, depending on how you've got them set up. So that's it. That's all you have to know. I'm running out of juice on my iPhone. But now that that's set up, I can turn off the Wi-Fi by pressing that button. Now I've disconnected from here. See, I don't have any, it's just frozen. And nothing's working, so that's because I disconnected the Wi-Fi by hitting this button. You don't use the Wi-Fi when it's in dash cam mode. There's no reason for that. So there are settings for, like right now, this is going to go about 1 minute before it turns off due to the fact that I turned the Wi-Fi off. It has a setting in the camera that says when do you want to turn off power if the Wi-Fi is turned off, and I don't know why that's there, but I've got it set at 1 minute. If you never turn the Wi-Fi on, then it doesn't do that, so it's not an issue. But so that's basically how you set up the camera. And I'm gonna, let's see, I'll go ahead and disconnect the power. Camera would run for this, if everything works right, it should go for 1 minute and then turn itself off. That's actually the Wi-Fi turning it off, not the power turning it off. But at any rate, I wanted to show you this as well. This is a plenum box that I built for the camera so that I can cool it. The camera does get rather warm, and if it's going to be sitting in the back of a car or in the front of a car videoing every day, even in the sunlight, cooling it is really important, I think. I've got one that's over 2 years old now, and it's still working fine. But basically, I built this little box, and I made it so that it's the camera's, you can see here, it's flush against the top of the box, so no air can travel across here. But this area over here, and the area in the bottom, this area is, air comes in, goes into the side of the camera, and it also goes underneath and goes up into the bottom of the camera, and then it exhausts out this side over here. And it is very effective with two little 5-volt cooling fans. They keep this thing to the point to where even when it's charging and recording simultaneously, you can put your fingers on it and you can feel, it feels like it's at room temperature. It does not feel like it's getting any heat whatsoever. I also drilled out these holes so that it would have more ventilation, the ones on the bottom and on the sides. There are two heat sinks in this camera. There's a plate right here that goes down the side of the camera, and another one over here. And then the holes in the bottom kind of allow air to flow up and out. That was the overall design of the camera. And if you're flying around as a FPV camera, it's not a big deal because you're getting a lot of airflow. Sitting in the back of a car or in the front of the car with the sun baking on it, they get very warm. And I'm not positive how many years you could go running it that way. So that's it. If you're interested in doing a HD Runcam HD dash cam, that's how I did mine, and I hope that helps someone else.